Before Gaia, nothing stayed. Things appeared and disappeared without resistance, without cost. Movement meant nothing because nothing was committed. But the moment ground exists, staying becomes possible. And when staying becomes possible, history begins. This episode is not about creation, it is about persistence. Because the most radical change Gaia introduces is not weight, not resistance, not depth. It is duration. Something can now remain where it is. And once something can remain, it can be returned to, collided with again, built upon, or destroyed. Greek myth does not begin when gods are born. It begins when things stop vanishing. This is why Gaia matters, not because she acts, but because she allows the universe to remember where things are. And nothing that remembers can ever be the same again. Before Gaia, existence was mobile but meaningless. Forms could move, but movement carried no memory. A position was not different from any other position. There was no here that could be returned to. No place that could be defended. No location that could become significant. Without ground, every moment erased the last. And because everything erased itself, nothing accumulated consequence. Greek myth understands something subtle here. Meaning does not come from motion. Meaning comes from persistence. If nothing stays, nothing can matter. Gaia does not create importance. She creates continuity. And continuity is what allows importance to exist at all. To stay does not mean to be permanent. It means to resist disappearance. It means that when something arrives somewhere, it does not immediately dissolve. This is new. With Gaia, location becomes stable. A thing that occupies space continues to occupy it until something changes it. And change now requires effort, force, cost. This is the birth of irreversibility, because once something stays, it can be altered, but not simply undone. Greek myth does not believe in resets. It believes in accumulation. And accumulation begins the moment existence can remain in place. Memory does not require thought, it requires traces. When something stays, it leaves marks. Compression, indentation, wear. These are not metaphors. They are physical records. Before Gaia, nothing recorded anything. After Gaia, matter remembers. The ground remembers what pressed against it. Stone remembers what fell upon it. And this memory exists without awareness. This is why Greek myth treats the world itself as older than gods. Because gods may forget, but ground does not. When things stay, they can align. When they align, they can support. When they support, they can stack. This is the logic of structure: walls, layers, foundations. None of these are intentional at first. They are consequences of stability. Gaia does not design structures. She allows them. And once structures exist, they impose constraints. Paths form, obstacles appear. Movement becomes directional. The universe begins to acquire shape, not because anyone plans it, but because staying makes planning possible. Time before Gaia is not history, it is flow. Time after Gaia becomes sequence, because when things stay, before and after become distinguishable. Events can now be ordered because their effects persist. This is why time in Greek myth is serious. Not moral. Serious. Because what happens cannot be erased by what happens next. Gaia turns time from motion into consequence. And consequence is what makes time heavy. If something stays somewhere, that place becomes occupied. If it is occupied, it cannot be shared infinitely. This is not aggression. It is geometry. Territory is born the moment staying is possible. Not because beings desire control, but because space is finite. Greek myth does not invent rivalry. It explains it. And the explanation begins here, with Gaia. When things stay, they eventually encounter each other again. Staying enables repetition, and repetition creates pressure. Two forms that persist will meet again, and again, and again. This repeated contact does not require hatred. It requires duration. This is why conflict in Greek myth is structural. It is not emotional at first, it is spatial. Staying transforms coexistence from peaceful possibility into inevitable friction. And friction is the engine of change. An irreversible world demands caution, not morality. Caution, because action now carries weight. A choice matters not because it is judged, but because it cannot be undone. This is the birth of seriousness. Greek myth does not reward virtue and punish vice consistently. It rewards compatibility. The world does not ask who you are. It asks whether you fit. And fitting is a physical question. Endurance is not fairness. Some things last because they are flexible. Others last because they are heavy. Some endure by yielding. Others endure by resisting. Gaia does not care. She provides conditions. And conditions select outcomes. This is selection before intention. Adaptation before thought. The universe begins to filter existence without choosing anyone. If things stay, some positions become safer. Others become dangerous. Higher ground. Lower ground. This is not social hierarchy. It is physical asymmetry. Pressure increases downward. Exposure increases upward. This gradient organizes existence without authority. Later, this will become Olympus and below. But the logic begins here. With staying, because only what stays can occupy a level. The gods inherit a world that stays. They do not create it, they arrive within it. And because the world persists, it does not adapt to them. Their power operates on top of structure, never beyond it. They can command forces, but they cannot remove gravity. They can rule, but they cannot reset consequence. This is the source of divine anxiety. Power floats, ground remains. Before Gaia, rebellion is meaningless. Nothing resists. After Gaia, rebellion requires force. And force leaves marks. To oppose structure now carries cost. This is why rebellion in Greek myth is never clean. It scars the world. Even failure changes something, because staying means every struggle leaves residue. A story requires commitment, a beginning that excludes alternatives, a middle that builds on what came before, an ending that cannot simply be replaced. Without Gaia, there is no narrative, only motion. Gaia transforms movement into sequence. sequence into causality, causality into story. This is why myth begins here. Not with gods, with ground. A stable world is not a safe world. It is a world where mistakes accumulate, where damage remains visible, where burial hides but does not erase. Greek myth never promises comfort. It promises intelligibility. The world becomes understandable because it repeats, because it holds, because it remembers. And understanding is worth the danger? Gaia does not command. She does not speak. She does not intervene. She enables. She allows the universe to stay long enough to be shaped. This is why she is ancient but not central, present but not worshipped, reliance without intimacy, dependence without dialogue. She is not loved, she is used. And that asymmetry defines Greek myth's tension. Staying leads somewhere. Because once things stay, they can also be trapped. If ground can hold, it can also confine. Stability makes depth meaningful, and depth does not end. In the next episode, we do not meet a god. We meet the consequence of staying forever. A place where falling does not stop. A place where consequence has no bottom.